Thinking about self-publishing and don't know where to start? Join the Spa Girls each week for 30 minutes of honest advice, tips and resources. I'm Trudy J and I am here with Shah Barrett.
Hello.
Wendy Valla.
Hello.
And Cheryl Phipps.
Hi there.
And today we have a very special repeat guest.
Yay.
Amira Alvarez.
Yay. Welcome.
Hey.
Now, we had an amazing response to an episode number 253 that we did with Amira a wee while ago. And so we decided to get her back on because that one was all about her, like what she does as a business coach and how she helps women kind of get ahead and make more money essentially and do great things with their businesses. And she kind of turned it around to make it relevant for us as authors. And people loved that one. So we brought her back on today to talk about Imposter Syndrome, which is another big thing that I think a lot of writers get. They kind of start feeling like they're not doing things right. So
I'm one of those.
Yeah, ironically. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a quick bio from Amira and remind you all who she is and what she does, and then we're just going to get straight into it. So Amira Alvarez is the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman, a global coaching company helping entrepreneurs, empire builders, athletes, creatives, and rising stars in all fields achieve their dreams and goals in record time. You can find her at theunstoppablewoman.com. And there's also a summit that's going on in November from the 6th to the 8th of November, which we've got some amazing, we've got a giveaway happening. So 3 different people can win 3 different tickets. I had to make that very clear because last time I said that, it was made us not sound like that. We're going to tell you how you can do that at the end of this episode. But that's a really worthwhile thing. All the Spa Girls are going along. Right,
to
Wendy?
clarify, it's an online summit.
Oh yeah, sorry, we're not going anywhere.
We would love
Virtual.
to
We'd love to go everywhere. We'd like to fly over there and go to this.
We would really love to do that.
Yeah.
But we'll be there.
Soon.
Yeah, soon.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. Anyway, so that's enough of me talking. So we're going to just leap into it. Have I forgotten anything? Anyone? No?
Sounds good.
So just make sure you listen to the end of this so you can find out how you can win that prize, because it's an amazing prize and the summit will be fantastic because Amira is amazing. So let's go.
All right.
Imposter Syndrome. So Amira, can you tell us what is Imposter Syndrome? Like, how would you describe it? What are the characteristics?
Absolutely. I'm interested to hear how you would describe it as well. But I think it's my personal experience of it. And when clients talk to me about it is they want to do something. They think they can do it, but then something says, no, if I take that step, whether it's visibility or marketing or the new position or the job or whatever they're going for, I haven't done it yet, so I'm an imposter. And then they start feeling like they're faking it until they're making it, and that feels inauthentic, and they don't like that feeling, and they feel like they're an imposter doing the thing versus a level of confidence doing the thing and sort of self-ownership and agency in that, whatever the activity, whether it's writing in this case, right? I am an author. Can you claim that you're an author? But I'm just a self-published author, or I've only done one book and I call myself that, right? Like these are the voices in our heads, right? And because we're human beings, we have that voice in our head. And it really, it can be a make it or break it kind of thing. It can really stop you in your tracks. So that's how I would define it.
I think of it as almost a secret that you're keeping. Like you secretly think you're not good enough to be where you are, or secretly think that something's going to happen to like expose you, and people will find out that you're really not who you're pretending to be almost.
You're going to wake up tomorrow and all of the it's going to be gone. That's the thing for me. Having achieved some success, I had this thing. I get this panic. It's just overwhelms me that I can't keep this up. It's not right. It's not real. This is not me. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this. And that's very real for me.
Well, maybe
and from a business perspective, that can really cause you to crash down. Like you're on this upward trajectory, things are going well. But if you keep that internal dialogue of like, everyone's going to find out, I'm going to blow it, you know, it's all going to come crashing down. There's actually a mechanism in our mind that will cause us to fulfill that and crash and burn. And that happens. People will have great success, and it's slightly different than imposter syndrome, but it's part of it, right? Like that's the messages in your mind of, that's not really me. They're going to find out I'm unworthy. I'm not really that good. All of that can cause you to really crash.
Yeah. And even it's also about how you present yourself. It's like if you are on the inside not feeling like you don't deserve to be where you are, or you're hiding the secret that you're not actually as good as you're trying to be, or whatever, I don't know, then that's how you're going to have that in everything you do. It's going to be in the back of your mind as you're trying to write your next book or do some marketing or whatever. You're kind of secretly going, oh, maybe I'm, not good enough to really be here.
And that's a whole self-worth piece that, quite frankly, sucks, right? Like it doesn't feel good. Like here you are, you're living your dream life. You're publishing the books, you're making some money at it, you're doing the things. You actually did the thing that you said you were going to do, which is pretty freaking amazing, right? But then inside you're beating yourself up with these voices and this sense of not being worthy of the success that you've achieved. And that is kind of a fear of victory, right? Like that doesn't, like, so you've gotten the success, but you don't have internal personal freedom, right?
Yeah.
And I think to me, that's the biggest part. Like, yes, it was huge to have an income breakthrough. I teach people all the time how to have income breakthroughs. It's not insignificant. Okay. We need money in this world to do the things we want to do. And like owning that and saying you would like to make more is a big deal. Okay. But money isn't everything. If you make the money and then you feel crappy inside and you're still running scared, like you're still wondering, who am I? Am I good enough? And you're like the little hamster chasing, that's not freedom to me. Okay. That's just being trapped at a different level.
Yeah. That's a really valid point, actually. You've got to still be doing the mind work to get yourself into the right space. So why do we get imposter syndrome? Like why do we put ourselves through that kind of awful hell?
Awful hell. And I think women do it more than men for some reason. I think you would agree. I think generally speaking, the way men are raised, little boys are raised, are to like go out and be courageous and say you can do it and then you'll do it, right? And girls are raised to like play nice, right? And like be a little bit more tentative in this world. Not, of course, that's a generic statement, and things are changing over time, but and not everyone was raised that way. So I want to acknowledge that. But so I think for women, we're taught that like, we have to do 5 steps. We have to bake the recipe before we can say that we're a chef. I don't know. There was a little bit of a silly analogy. But like, I mean, fundamentally, like there have been studies that say like just on jobs, like a job listing will have 15 things that the job requirements are. And women will have 13 out of 15 and won't apply because they think, oh, I need to have all of them. And a guy, I'm making up these numbers. You can find the study. I don't have the numbers correct. But the guy will say, oh, I have 3 out of 15. Yeah, I'll apply. Right. It's a totally dramatically different mindset. And so I think we have a higher bar for ourselves. We think that we need to already have done the thing to feel like we're good enough to call ourselves an author or a this or that. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
And here's the rub though. You will never be that thing until you do that thing. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to be in that place of tension, that place of growth, that place that feels so uncomfortable, where it feels like you're faking it, but you're actually learning the skill set.
Yes.
Okay.
And I personally don't like the fake it till you make it concept, but I do like the act as if, because acting as if is like, this is my vision of where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I would not have that vision if it wasn't a clear desire for me. And I wouldn't have that desire for me if it wasn't somehow linked up to an essential essence of who I was, part of my spiritual seed, the thing that I was put on this earth to do, right? Part of my purpose. And so you have this, and this is a really powerful intellectual way of getting around imposter syndrome. Like if I didn't have, if I wouldn't have this desire if it wasn't part of my purpose. A great example. I have no desire to be an astronaut. I don't know about you guys, but has never entered my sphere, right? I don't have that desire. So I am not going to act as if I'm an astronaut or the 50 steps before you get to that place, right? But I do have a desire to help people create their own freedom in their lives, right? Like that is a strong passion for me, right? And with their business and their income and all of that. So I will move in that direction. I see the vision of who I am. Okay. There's visioning practices around that. And then I act like that person. That's not faking it because it's connected to the essence of who I am. I'm just starting to express it. I'm allowing myself to express it, which is different than telling yourself you have to fake it, meaning be someone you're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a big, do you see that differentiation?
Yes,
Yeah.
No, it's
Totally.
totally.
It's a good one because that gets around that uncomfortable feeling of not being authentic. So I think you're actually tapping into actually what is authentic, and it's that desire. So that's I like that.
Yeah. And authenticity is so huge, right? Like we are able to be magnetic in our attraction, right? Like for your audience, they're publishing their books. They're going to be more magnetic the more fully expressed they are, so that the more they can actually tap into the truth of who they are and start seeing what that is and visioning it and expressing it. So a great exercise is like, who is the self-published author? Who is the great self-published author? Who is the world famous self-published author? Whatever the desire level is, like, the person who wants to make 10K a month or 25K a month, like who is that woman? And everyone has a picture of her in their own mind. I don't have a picture of yours. You have a picture of yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have a picture of that woman. How does she talk? How does she walk? How does she write? What does she care about? What is open to her? Like how I'm doing this with my hand because it's like it's open. You're fully expressed. And then you have to use the law of sacrifice and ask yourself, if that's who I am at my full expression, then who am I not being right now? And articulate what those attributes are and start sacrificing them. The law of sacrifice says you must let go of something of a lower nature in order to let in something of a higher nature. So you're holding on to traits, behaviors, ways of thinking, being that are at a dissonance with the vision of who you know yourself to be. Okay. And you have to start letting those go and start calling in what you want. So that's acting with more confidence or whatever it is. Yeah.
How do you do that? Like you look at yourself and go, okay, which things are not helping me? Do you just have to kind of figure out what's different?
Can I use you as a guinea pig?
Right out loud. Yes, please do.
We volunteer Trudy as a Trudy.
Yes, yeah.
Go, Trudy, go.
Yeah, I had my turn.
Okay, so what's your vision of like the fully expressed self-published author that's like the woman? Who is she?
Well, it starts with me for my money. I've got this goal that I want to make $1 million in a year, which seems so crazy in terms of like, yeah.
Okay, so what would the $1 million self-published author, how would her day look like? How would she interact with people? How would she carry herself? What would she say?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, she'd be really confident. She'd be writing exactly the books that she wanted to write for the right readers. Like, she'd know all of that stuff. But she wouldn't be panicky. Like, I kind of am panicky sometimes. Like, and she wouldn't write all day. Like, she'd go away and do other stuff and fill her creative well, doing lots of amazing other things, like spending time with her family and going and doing all this other stuff, as well as spending time on the business. She'd be out there making connections. Sure.
So let's go back to that. So she wouldn't be writing all day. How long would she be writing?
She'd write for 2 or 3 hours a day.
And it would be super focused, I imagine.
Yeah, very focused.
And it would just come out of her, and it would be like first draft, like boom, done.
It would be amazing.
Okay. So then what do you need to sacrifice? We're just going to use, for this example, we would do this with everything, but this is a great little nugget here. So that's not how you're showing up right now, correct?
Yeah, sure.
How are you showing up in relationship to that right now? Like,
in
how
terms
many
of
hours
writing?
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm writing full on, I go in bursts. Like, I'll write all day when I've got a hard deadline coming up, and then I won't write it all some other days, generally just after that hard deadline, because I'm exhausted. So I go in ups and downs and waves.
And you don't think that that's the $1 million author's way of writing? Am I correct?
Well, this is indecision is another thing. So I have two theories. One is that I think maybe writing bursts is actually quite helpful to me, because I get into the flow and I can write hard and fast, and I just get the book done in a shorter period of time. And it's okay that I don't write every day. But another part of me thinks, well, maybe it would be better if I did write in shorter bursts.
So the shitties that are not good. Okay. So, but go back to your vision of who that woman is. My gut's saying that she's just more at ease with the writing, and she's clearer on her boundaries in terms of, instead of making herself wrong for writing all day and then taking a break, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's got that scheduled. She knows how she works. She's very clear about what her drivers are. And she owns that, as opposed to saying, that's wrong, I need to do it like someone else.
Okay.
Does that land?
Yeah. But then
I don't want to be.
I was going to say, it lands on, I think I write better when I'm doing it all in one burst, and I can concentrate solely on that, and I don't have to worry about anything else, rather than doing it 3 hours every day.
But you're making yourself wrong, because you've heard that you're supposed to write 3 hours a day. Okay. So what needs to be sacrificed, Trudy, is your wronging of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing that you need to notice now is, if I want to be that $1 million author, okay, it's totally viable and possible, and I freaking love that goal. Then I have to release making myself wrong. I have to sacrifice that. You have to notice when you're doing that. And then what are you going to fill that with? And I would say you want to fill that with good boundaries. I've made a decision on this. This is how I love to write. I claim this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And you do this with you'll see a vision of who that woman is. And then you let go of the parts of you that are out of integrity with that woman. Now, can you do everything all at once? No, absolutely not. Okay. Let's just, be real. I hate the word realistic. Let's acknowledge that you're going to do this incrementally, but hopefully quickly. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I did this, I remember when I was just starting my business, and I was like, I just want to make $5,000 a month, right? I just want to make $5,000 a month. It was a big deal for me. Okay. Yeah. It was like a huge stretch. And I thought, who is that woman who makes $5,000 a month? She turns out to be the woman who makes $1 million a year. Okay. Not $5,000 a month, but, she just dropped in. It was so clear who she was. And then I've, over the years, incrementally done this. And, you know, it started with like, you can see it got my nails done, right? And all shiny, right? And it's because the image I had of the woman I wanted to be was someone who was more put together and well coiffed. That's not important to everyone. I'm not imposing that on anyone. Please don't take that as your vision has to be this. It does not, okay? But I wanted to feel beautiful. That was an important aspect. And I know it's an important aspect for a lot of women that I work with. Like, beauty is huge. What does that look like for you? And that's where I said, what does she move like? What does she talk like? How does she dress? And so it was a big deal to get my nails done, because I was not, like, when I started this journey, I was in dog hair covered clothes. I wasn't brushing my teeth in the morning. I wasn't taking a shower. You know, I was like working like a dog until I went to sleep. And I wasn't attending to myself. But the vision I had of that woman was not that. But you can't leap instantaneously into that vision. You have to take one little step. So for me, it was spending money on a more expensive manicure that lasted, right? The gel manicures, I don't know what they're called down under, but yeah. And it was like $45. And I was like pacing outside the nail shop. And I was like, can I spend this money? Right? Like, it was a big decision for me, because, you know, I thought that was frivolous, and I had a whole self-image in my mind growing up. And we talked about this last time, the whole idea of the identity that you hold from childhood. My identity was, and it was a double bind, right? You can't be smart and beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. And so I chose smart, not beautiful. And I came up with all these stories to support it. But I had to make that little decision, and then I had to pay for a haircut, and then I had to buy nicer clothes, and I, you know, went and got pretty shoes, and I hired a stylist, and right. And it didn't happen overnight. And I was doing the stuff in my business to grow the business to, you know, I wasn't putting myself in the poorhouse doing this, but I did it incrementally. The point is, you become that person, and then you become the expression of who you truly are, and you're no longer an imposter. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to ease into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Move closer and closer to who you want to be.
It'll be more accepting of yourself as well, I suppose. Don't you? You know.
Do you have to kind of, there is a difference, so kind of what you're saying, like who you are now to who you want to be. How do you, and is that just a line that you just keep working towards? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I call it running the stairs. Like, you need to take one step at a time, but you have to do it quickly. Okay. If you really want to achieve your goals faster than you thought possible previously, you have to make those choices quicker. So for you have to actually notice when you're making yourself wrong for taking time off after a deadline, and choose to be someone who's like fully in that decision. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really interesting that you say that, because I find myself doing that in lots of different areas of my life. I'm very judgy, and there's that whole idea of like making the right decision. Like you want to be right and not just make any old decision. You want to make the right decision. You almost have to let go of that idea too.
But there's also the outside influences that are working against you as well. Isn't it? You know, it's not just you. Quite often it's, you know, the people around you, the family, and you probably don't realize, but they're impacting on what you're doing as well and what you're thinking.
It's huge. Environment is huge. And the people in our environment are huge. And, you know, depending on someone's situation, they might have really toxic people in their environment. It might be really bad people who don't have their back, who are constantly cutting them down. And you have to figure out how to either set really strong boundaries or move beyond those people. And sometimes it's hard because it's your best friend or it's your family or whatever. And also there's more subtle ways that this works, which I think is what you're talking about, which is the culture and the family says, you're going to don't be too big. Right?
Yeah.
Tall poppy syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Don't be too big. Don't go beyond it. Well, you know what, Trudy, you want to make $1 million. go freaking big, own that, right?
Yeah.
And yet there's probably voices around you that are saying,
in my own
who do
head.
you think you are, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kiwis or New Zealanders are very much, that's how we work. We're we don't ever rise up. And when we do, we tend to bash each other, people down. That's our psyche. Yeah.
And yet, could you be someone who didn't do that, right? Like, could you start visioning a world where you create friendships and colleagues who are cheering you and want your big success versus, you know, that everyone wins when you win, right? Everyone wins when she wins. It's actually really psychologically destructive, because it makes it like a zero-sum game. Like if you rise too far up, I'm gonna lose something, so I'm gonna knock you down. And the truth is, we live in an expanding universe. Like, there's more money in circulation now than ever before. There's more people, more love, more resources. Okay. Like, even with global warming, right? Like, things are shifting, but it's an expanding universe. It's not a contracting universe. And if you can grasp that, then you want everyone to win. Like, there doesn't have to be a win-lose dynamic, because you know there's more for everyone.
That's a really big part of it.
And I think too that, you know, especially with the podcast, is for the four of us, is giving to other people and helping other authors has been very, very positive, and I think life affirming for all of us. And yet still, we don't put all that effort and love into ourselves as much as we should, more than we did, certainly. But I can see that we've still got a way to go.
People issues.
And you are having great success with the podcast, and giving is the first law of receiving. Okay. So, like, it might not come back directly, but it does. Okay. And so don't stop giving, and that's giving on, you know, the more massive scale, but you guys give to each other. I mean, we were just chatting before the call, and we're all laughing and joking, and that's giving, right? You know?
So one of the things I think particularly women struggle with is the balance between going for your goals and also the feeling that takes away from giving to your family and your loved ones. And I think that's a real, you know, whether you've got young children or older children or, you know, elderly relatives that you're looking after, that kind of thing, it's a struggle for a lot of us that are kind of balancing that. And it feels almost guilty to, I think that kind of gets tied up into the whole imposter syndrome thing as well.
Yeah. So it's a big deal. So let's just acknowledge it's a juggling act. Okay. And I don't think anyone gets it right. Like, no one feels like it's spot on or perfect. Okay. That said, there are things that you really need to do. You need to make clear decisions, to our conversation earlier, Trudy. You need to make clear decisions about, okay, this is what I'm doing for my family. This is family time, and this is writing time or business time. And because here's the thing, there's always more that you can do for your family, and there's always more that you can do for your writing and for your business. And it actually, when it's dysfunctional, it becomes a way of proving that you're never enough. And that is really, you know, it sucks. But you won't you'll prove out that you're not enough as a writer in your business by saying, I'm not doing enough for my family, and then do a bunch over here, feeling guilty over here. And you've just proven that you're not enough, because now you've shirked all the dreams. Okay. And then you'll do it in the reverse, right? And you'll say, I'll do it over here, but I'm not going to put it over here. And then you start feeling guilty over here, and that limits you. It just creates this self-image. It reinforces the self-image of not being enough. And that's part of that lack of personal freedom. You know, I start with women on how do you make $1 million? Like, how do How do you have an income breakthrough? But the way you do that is by getting out of these double binds, right? Because they're sucking your energy and they're not letting you really show up in either place, and you don't have personal freedom. You stay trapped in the voice, with the voice in your head chatting with you all day long, feeling like the world sucks. I suck, the world sucks. Okay. And that's not freedom. That is not freedom.
No.
Okay. And so when I ask people why they want to make $1 million, you know, they might have a financial goal. They might have things they want to buy, a house, college tuition for kids. They just want to achieve it. Like, it feels great. Like, that would be amazing. It would prove something, right? And then after digging for a while, it'd be like, I'd be free. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the truth. You have to gain your freedom along the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Part of it. Otherwise it's you're a rich, unhappy person, and that's not very fun.
No.
You're digging into our heads. All of us are like, ooh.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Wow.
So I have a question. If
Yes.
so we're running the steps, but what if you could only walk them, or is that self-defeating?
Well, I'd have to go into a specific example of what's going on, because it's not a one size fits all answer. So sometimes it's nuanced, and you have to use discernment. But what I do is I listen for the story that's underneath the decision. And if that story is actually supporting something that is not the result that you want, then it's BS. Okay. Okay. And some of our best stories are quite reasonable and rational. Okay.
I was going to say that as authors, we probably tell very, very good stories.
Right.
Very complicated.
Like
really
my kids need me, or when,
Yeah.
you know, right. Or, you know, I get exhausted and I get sick. Like, that's mine. Okay. Full transparency. I don't do that anymore. But, well, I will get tired, but like, I don't get sick anymore. But that's the like, oh, I'm going to be overwhelmed if I take this on. And I had to realize that I had more capacity than I was allowing myself. And that was a pattern of self-defense that came from my childhood. Like, when I couldn't take what my mother was asking me to do anymore, I would curl up in a little ball and fall asleep. That would be my coping strategy.
Yeah.
And it was a great coping strategy, right? It worked. But it doesn't work if you're running a business, right? And every time something's challenging or hard, you want to crawl up in a little ball and go to sleep. Like, that's actually, then that's a story that I'm telling myself. And I had to unpack where that came from, see it for what it was, and transform the image that I held of myself, and actually do the thing even when I was tired, to break through that psychological block. Because there's two ways to break through. You change the belief and you take different action, and you need to do both. Okay. So if you want to give me an example, I'll help you break through.
Do it, share. Do it.
You spoke, mate. It's you.
Well, no, all of those things really is, for me, it's family. You know, it's giving them as much time as I possibly can, and yet I want to be successful, and I am successful, but in a much smaller way than I see myself being. So,
so do you have clear? This is family time, and this is business writing time.
Definitely I have business writing time, but I'm very flexible with my family, and I guess to my detriment that they know that. So, but I do I offer up myself more than I know is wise, because I see the need. So even if it's not asked, I feel like I need to do.
Okay. So you're getting some sort of validation from
yes.
I think self-worth from that. Okay.
Absolutely.
So who would you need to be able to be worthy of their love without always offering to do more for them?
Well, I think just listening to you talking and just being here with everybody. It's the fact that I have this need to be needed. And which is pretty,
it's a big deal. I mean, and it's often what drives people. They won't do it for themselves, but they'll do it for someone else. And it needs to be that pattern needs to be broken. It doesn't mean you don't ever do things for other people, but you're not compulsive about it. It's not a unconscious kind of dopamine hit or something like that. Okay. And even people who have teams that are working for them, like, they'll do it for their team, but they won't do the hard thing in their own business. They're working for the deadline. They're working for someone else, not for themselves. So I think just acknowledging that out loud is helpful. And then when you see yourself offering, like, just be in the discomfort of not doing that. Okay. And it will feel uncomfortable. It will feel unsafe. It will feel like, all the stories are going to come up at that point about like why you should do that. Okay. And just watch it, have that witness perspective. It will feel extraordinarily uncomfortable to watch yourself being pulled in that moment, but that's what you have to do. Absolutely.
So how do you dissolve the guilt that you've clearly forced upon yourself?
Well, part of it is staying in conversations like this, Cheryl. So, the truth is that you can do a lot of deep inner work, which I do with my clients to help resolve these guilt patterns. But it's also just recognizing that that's the driver. Guilt says, I've done something wrong, and shame says, I am wrong. Okay. So you then have to look at like, okay, why do I feel guilty if I haven't done this? Why do I say that this is wrong? And you have to intellectually understand your rationale. And then you actually have to intellectually say, well, what's the truth there? And keep shining the truth on the situation. So I do this a lot with my immersion clients. They're my clients that I talk to every day. And I listen for, oh, that's guilt. That's guilt. What's the reframe here? What's the truth here? The truth is little Sarah can fold her own laundry, right? She's 12, right? Yeah. And it's good for her, and she's learning skills, and it's actually the most loving thing I could do to let her figure this out. Okay. It's the most loving thing I can do to let her try and fail and not come to the rescue. I'm making up examples, but whatever it is, there's a truth that you're not seeing that you need to see first intellectually, and then you can get it in your body. Yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it. It's more loving to let them help themselves than it is to always,
It's tough when you're a people pleaser too, and Cheryl's a serial people pleaser, which is, and I'm the same. We're both the same. We both are, especially with our families. Yeah.
And it comes from a upbringing where you got love from what you did. Yeah. Okay. How you performed. Okay. And you want love and connection. So of course you're going to keep that up. But what if you could get love? What if you could get a cleaner kind of love, right? Where you actually like had unconditional love. You acted in an unconditional way, because quite frankly, you're in a loop of conditional love. You're saying they're only going to love me if I do things for them. Okay. Right?
Well, because as a sensible adult, I know, and I'm sure we all know, that that's not true.
Well, but we're still driven by it, right? It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Wowzers.
Wowzers. Oh my goodness.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you feel, Cheryl?
Do you think we
feel
covered?
Yeah, I think we should get back to imposter just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because I have a couple more questions. I'd like to know, are there ever any positives to having imposter syndrome, like to feeling like you're not in the right place or whatever?
It's a great question. Well, I could see one positive being that it drives you to improve. Like if you use it as a fuel to become confident, right? Become who you know yourself to be, but you haven't stepped into being. Like if you're using it to be like, oh, that's the next level that I need to get to. I think that that's a really positive thing. I suppose you could find some positive in that if you talk too big, right? That you're not actually in your truth anymore, and you want to be in integrity. So having a little bit of a break on that isn't such a bad thing. Do you see more positives that I haven't acknowledged?
I just wanted to, because you were talking about acting as if, and I think how sometimes people maybe would confuse that with imposter syndrome, like I'm acting as if, but I'm not really that, so therefore I'm an imposter, versus imposter syndrome, which is a lot more negative. I think in my mind, imposters, you're sitting there and you're holding on and pretending and hoping, whereas acting as if is a lot more positive. And it, like I've done things like that where I go out and it helps me become more confident and show up better and be more myself, versus this kind of little scared imposter feeling person over in the corner. So I just wanted to clarify that those in my mind are two very different things, and just make sure that people aren't thinking that the act as if is the equivalent to
I think they're two different separate things, and acting as if can help you move through imposter syndrome. Okay. I think it's a tool actually.
Yeah. I didn't know if there were any positives to imposter syndrome. I was just curious to what you thought about that. So, I
mean, I think it's mostly a way of keeping ourselves small and scared, not just small, but scared, and like that scared little child, right? And that doesn't feel good. I recognize that it is a thing that we all go through as we're growing and going to the next level. And you have to move through it with courage, which doesn't mean without fear. It's not being it's being fearless, like you're less fear, not without fear. Right? But, just acknowledge that this is you scared of the next step. And are you willing? Right? Are you just willing to step forward?
That's awesome.
Asking those questions of yourself,
cool.
isn't it? Which we avoid asking.
I feel like there's also this part of it where you kind of think, I'm just being realistic, or I'm just the imposter is the truth of me, and everything else is just some kind of airy fairiness, and you kind of got to crack that open and say, actually, the imposter isn't real, or that's just my thoughts, and I have to, crack yourself out of that kind of belief system.
So can I go a little further with this? Go a little woo on you? Okay.
Do it.
Okay. So those thoughts, like, give me an example of an imposter syndrome thought. Let's go with a specific thought.
Wendy.
I'm not a good enough writer.
What did you say, Wendy?
Yeah.
You didn't say, oh, really? No.
I'm not a good enough writer.
Yeah, there you go, Trudy.
Okay. So that is part of your imagination. You are now imagining yourself to not be a good enough writer. But you've had quite a bit of success, have you not?
I've written lots of books.
Some. Yeah. Okay. So it's as easy to imagine what you don't want as to imagine what you do want. It's just a thought. But it takes will to change your mind as to what you're thinking. Your greatest power is your power to choose. You're choosing, I'm not a good enough writer. They're gonna find me out, is right? That's what you said earlier. The imposter syndrome is they're gonna find me out. Okay. They haven't found you out yet. You are imagining that. Okay. That hasn't happened. That's negative faith. Okay. That's worry. It's destructive. Okay. You could easily say to yourself, I'm not a good enough writer, but I'm writing every day and my writing's getting better and better. And my audience is going to recognize that, and my book sales are going to go through the roof. Okay. Which is a totally different imagination, like a totally different line of thinking. Neither one has happened yet. But the truth is that what we think and we hold in our heart and mind, so any thought that is feared or revered, but is emphasized, meaning emotionalized, will find the fastest way to be made manifest. Okay. This is how life works, and people don't get it. So they stay in the worry, in the negative faith, and the negative, destructive, deconstructive thinking. Okay. Because faith is just believing in something that has not yet happened, that you cannot see. Okay. But negative faith is just worry, right? It's believing in something that you haven't seen, that hasn't happened yet. Okay.
So it's the same. Why would you pick the negative? I don't know.
But they're the strongest thoughts, aren't they?
Yeah.
They take precedent in your head. They're the negative ones, are the strongest thoughts.
Correct. And this is the kind of thinking, and this is the methodology that I teach, right? This is how you have to undo your patterns so that you can set a different image and use your mind, which is hugely powerful, to send a new directive and do different things. Like it actually like comes out through the action. It's not just positive thinking. It's like, oh, then you start, that's the GPS that I've set for myself. What do I have to do to reach it? Then you're actually on that course instead of the course of they're all going to find me out.
Just such a horribly negative thing to be thinking, isn't it?
Yes.
Isn't it?
No wonder.
And yet people have, we've all had that thought. Okay. Not one of us can say we haven't had that thought. Like they're going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And yet and here back to the courage part, you still have to go forward. Like I would not be in the place that I am in now if I had let those thoughts stop me. I had those thoughts. I still have those thoughts, not to the same degree. Okay. And like very infrequently, but they will pop up, especially when I'm going for something bigger. Right. And then I'll be like, oh, I know that. I'm not doing that.
Be gone.
Yeah. But you have to be courageous and take the action anyway, despite that thinking.
Yeah.
And I guess also recognize it as well.
Yeah. Awareness is the first step. It's absolutely key. You can't change anything without awareness of it.
Because there's something very different about sitting there and thinking, oh no, everyone's going to find out. Oh no, versus standing here and go, oh no, that's just one of those thoughts that I'm having. Like one of them, you feel like it's your reality and you have to protect and hide. And the other one is just like, oh no, I can do something about it, so.
And one feels like it's going to last forever, right? Like you're just, like when you feel bad, it feels like that's going to be you forever. And you have to step back, use that witness mentality and really look at it and say, okay, what's the truth here? The truth is, this is me having negative faith. This is me in imposter syndrome. This is me trying to distract myself from really going for it. Okay. Well, that just is. I don't have to make it bigger or smaller or build a story around it, but I can refocus and do this. Really neutral conversation with yourself.
It's a struggle. It's hard to accept success. It's hard to, all those things, they all just manifest inside you, don't they? Gosh, listen to us.
Is this too much of a downer? Oh my goodness.
No, it's not.
I guess it's surprising because, on some level, you have these little foibles, and then when you actually speak them out loud, you're like, seriously?
Yeah.
That's me?
Yeah, it's like if the world could hear the conversations in our own head, right?
Yeah.
It's actually a really powerful thing to ask yourself, right? Like if I shared this out loud, would I be proud of who I was demonstrating myself to be?
Boy,
and that's
a cold bucket of cold water. that thought, but yeah, absolutely.
And it's a game changer, because like that's how you up level. That's how you raise your standard. So I often talk about people about like being in integrity with yourself. Like, who are you behind closed doors where nobody sees, right? Do you only clean up your house when guests come, or right? Like that used to be me. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. But like I used to like, and that was doing it for other people, making sure, but for me, I wasn't worthy of a clean house. Right. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I wasn't worthy of a beautiful environment. Okay. So I was out of integrity with myself. Little
Being
things
true.
like,
being true to yourself.
And who are you inside your head versus what you're saying out loud? That's another place of being in integrity with yourself. And we end up not liking ourselves because we're out of integrity with ourselves. And that is an energy suck that pulls you away from your business, pulls you away from any goals you have, right? Because you're constantly defending yourself inside of your head. I'm not so wrong. I wasn't so bad for thinking that or doing that or being that or leaving my, can I swear on this podcast?
Go for it.
Yeah. Leaving my shit everywhere. You know, but you really want to be someone who doesn't leave your shit everywhere. And so you're out of integrity with yourself. So you're wasting huge, valuable energy in that dialogue with yourself, defending this behavior that you actually don't like. Right?
Yeah.
Getting defensive when somebody else points out that you left your shit everywhere.
That's different.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never did that.
I think one of the things I've noticed, because we have been doing this for many years and we've talked to some incredibly successful by any measure people, and often they will talk about not necessarily using the words imposter syndrome, but often they'll say, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, or I find that it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not something that necessarily goes away. And you've said that, Amira, you still have the occasional thoughts. It's just, less frequently, or that you're witnessing them.
And you still move forward is the thing. I think that's the difference between people who let it stop them and people who don't, right?
Yeah.
It's that like, it's not like, now I know, so I don't have it so much going on, but like, I had to just chart the path and go and try, right? And I didn't know exactly what I was doing, because no one has 100% certainty. No one knows exactly anyone who tells you that, guys, is lying to you, that they can tell you like the exact steps to get you to like blah, 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 like the tactical outer game steps, because they're always nuanced. Okay. I can tell you the inner game steps that you have to take, like that's the methodology. And you mentioned the summit earlier. That's what we're going to be talking about at the summit, is like, these are the steps you need to take to get really clear about how to go about your goal, getting your goal. And then, and we take people through a whole process on that. But then you have to take the risk. Okay. And like, so when people are like, I didn't know what I was doing, they got the idea, they figured out the next steps and they went for it. Okay. And learning from people who've gone before helps. Absolutely. Like modeling different ways of doing things, super important. Learning from experts, super important. And you still need to chart your own path, right?
Yeah, that's good. And that's a great, we're just talking about the summit because that's a great place to end. And I think that's an amazing idea that we need to be moving forward, but also let's talk about that summit. Let's, yay. So it's on the 6th to the 8th of November.
Correct.
And as you said, that's going to be, go for it. You tell us.
Well, first of all, I'm super excited that you all are coming. That is going to be so much fun.
So we're
thrilled.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah. It's virtual, so it's over Zoom. It's the website is, let me give you that in case people want to look it up while I'm talking. So it's the unstoppablewoman.com/spa girls. We did a special link for Spa Girl listeners.
Yay.
So that's the unstoppablewoman.com/spa girls, all one word. And we have the times on there. It starts at 11 Eastern, and we do 5 hours of teaching. There are breaks. We do movement breaks. We do lots of workshopping. It's a great networking event as well, even virtually, because we figured out the way to do that really works, where we have you in workshopping groups, the same group all in day 1, a different group all in day 2, and a third group all in day 3, so that you really get to know that group of women. It's all women. And then you're meeting people who are like-minded, driven, going for more, but have stuff that they're working through. People are showing up in their vulnerability, showing up in their wisdom, both, all of that. And we take people through a whole process for getting clear on their goals, what they're going for, and how to achieve them. And we give people the inner game pieces. I talk about the manifestation matrix. I talk about the psychology behind the self-image and your belief structure and the subconscious program and what's sabotaging you and keeping you at a level that's not what you want. And we really, it's me teaching all 3 days. It's not a bunch of different people. At, some conferences have a bunch of different people. This is a teaching event where you really are going to walk away with a game plan for yourself and how to really step into that full self-expression and not feel so trapped by those friggin' voices in your head, right? That'll
be good.
Yeah. Wouldn't that, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have questions on that? Did I give a good enough?
No, that was
awesome.
perfect.
That sounds amazing.
It's really
and
exciting.
it's open to anybody from,
anywhere,
any walk of life. It's just
absolutely. It's not just for writers. Many of my clients are writers. Many of my clients are other creatives. Many of my clients are entrepreneurs in different fields, landscape architects, lawyers. I have quite a few lawyers right now. Bakers, like the runs the gamut. The big thing that I work at is at that intersection of personal development and business development. How do you make your income breakthrough? We start with that as your first level goal. And I don't care where you're at in your business, like there's the next level of breakthrough that you're looking for. And how do you make that income breakthrough? Because when you do that the way I teach it, you have the personal development breakthrough as well. And you are this self-expressed woman. So you're lit up, you're loving life, you're having a good time, right? And you feel good about yourself as you're doing your work. And it's not this kind of grinded out for some imaginary payday later when you'll be able to relax, right? Then you'll be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. No. The trick is to love the work, love your life, all aspects of it, and love the work, right? And not be in this push-pull with yourself. Yeah. And when you do that, then you have abundant energy and you can go for it and it feels great. And you're not always at counter purposes with yourself. So that's the big
brilliant.
Goal. Yeah.
I cannot wait.
Awesome.
I cannot wait.
Sounds like a bit of us.
Yeah, a lot of us. Exciting.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 tickets to give away to that amazing experience that will be the summit. I can't wait. So how do people enter? How people are going to tell us? Yeah.
So there's 2 ways to get tickets. One, we have Earlybird tickets available through October 16th. You just go to the Spa Girls link that we gave you, the unstoppablewoman.com/spa girls, and you can buy your ticket. There's also a VIP upgrade if you want to do that with a lot of networking bonus sessions there. So if you're a yes and you just want to get your ticket, go buy it. Okay. We also are giving away 3 free tickets. And the way you win that ticket is by posting on Facebook. And you have to make sure it's a public post, not a private post, so that we can see it. Okay. So change your settings so it's a public post, and tell us one reason why you want to come to the summit, and then hashtag Unstoppable Summit and hashtag Spa Girls Podcast. And if you do those 3 things, so tell us one reason you want to come, hashtag Unstoppable Summit, hashtag Spa Girls Podcast, we are going to pick 3 winners at the end of day, Friday the 16th. Okay. And if you have purchased your ticket already and you enter and you win, we will refund you your ticket. Perfect. So the deadlines for the early bird and the deadlines for the contest happen to be the same day. Don't be confused. If you know you want to go, buy your ticket. We'll refund you if you happen to be the winner. And was I clear to that?
Absolutely. And we're going to put all of that in the show notes anyway. So it'll all be there in black and white as well.
And can I just say that there's no wrong reason that you want to come. It can be anything from I want to write 1,000 words a day regularly to I want to earn $1 million.
Or I'm just curious about what this is.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Or I want a weekend off from cleaning the house.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Exactly. Awesome.
Great opportunity.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
it was wonderful again.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Now, where can you be found where can the summit be found? Let's give that link again.
Yeah. So the link to the summit, I'll give the summit in my podcast. The link to the summit is the unstoppablewoman.com/spa girls, SPA girls, all one word there. And it will show you everything about the summit. And then my podcast is the unstoppablewoman.com/listen. And then it links to all the different podcast apps.
Awesome.
There's more goodies there.
There are lots more goodies there. Yeah. I listened to you all last week when I was gardening, Amira. Just say your dulcet tones in my ears.
I love it. Which episodes do you remember which episode?
The one on the success. I'm pretty sure it was 54 because I got the numbers in my head, and it was actually, you did cover a little bit on an imposter syndrome on that, but it was about success habits. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Appreciate you listening. I love that.
And where can we be found quickly before I sign off?
We can be found at spagirlspodcast.com and on pretty much everywhere apart from Instagram, which we have yet to rectify. If you want to watch this recording, we're on YouTube at Spargirls Podcast.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Amira. It's been another fantastic episode.
You're welcome.
And we'll be back again. We'll be back again next week with another episode of the Spa Girls podcast. See you all.
Bye. And good luck.